And I titled this talk today, Why We Can't Ignore the Lies of White Supremacy. And what
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I know you guys know that already, but what I'm addressing, and it's something Arturo said, how growing up, we're both kind of told it's just sort of like, we'll just ignore them. And we do this. You see our representatives. I've been talking to these representatives. I talked to Emily Berge, and I brought up something this Republican had said, and he was just telling lies, and just disregarding the fact that it's completely legal to cross the border as long as you apply for asylum within a year. And the response is always from Democrats, well, we don't engage. It's like you have to engage. You have to engage when they say these lies that cause people to get killed. So that's the start. I'll just let you guys play off of
On
that.
that note,
Yeah.
Right,
What do
right.
you guys think? I'm sure you have thoughts.
Crashing out.
Oh, I'll start. I'll start. If
okay,
I cry or crash out, what are the
where
two?
do we begin?
Well, I mean,
Arturo, you
yeah,
take it.
it's true, right? So my whole life growing up, grew up right next door to New York City. We traveled the streets and, got in all kinds of trouble. And, anytime you saw Nazis or something like that, like trying to, do a little rally or something, everybody's like, just ignore them. All they want is attention. If you give them any attention, you're feeding into this and that, whatever. Well, with the advent of social media, that language continued. And here we are watching them grow unabated and no one's challenging them. Right. So when Elon Musk took over Twitter, this is always a great example for me. When Elon Musk took over Twitter, Nazis came all over the place, right? We've seen Nazis come around here on Substack. The reason you don't flee is because you're leaving them unchallenged, right? When you leave X, you just gave them not a soapbox, but the soapbox. And, you let them take over the street corner and you're just walking away going, no, we're not going to engage with that. Now we got fascists running the streets, man. People getting shot and killed, by agents of the state, and you just can't ignore it anymore. How much more do you have to ignore? How much more has to happen before you stop ignoring it? So I didn't leave Twitter. I didn't leave Substack. I didn't leave anywhere where supposed Nazis are because I've been getting in Nazis' faces my whole life. Like I see this flat spot on my nose. I mean, it's been broken twice. So I spent, many a night in the county jail here in Texas because, we have dueling laws. And if both parties are willing participants, they throw you in jail for 8 hours and then cut you loose. All for that. And if they didn't scare me in real life, they're not going to scare me on social media.
Yeah.
So like, we can't continue to let them go unchallenged. To me, the benefit of Elon Musk bringing Nazis back to Twitter is I don't have to hunt them down on all these encrypted chat networks anymore. Now they're right in front of my face. Now they're saying whatever they want out in the open in the public. And if you think running away from that is going to solve the problem, you are sorely mistaken. They have free reign, So, Allison's still over there. A few of us are still over there and we push back all the time. And yeah, we get a lot of racist stuff. N-word is all over the place and Allison's replies and all this stuff. But again, just can't, in my view, you just can't let it go unchallenged. I think people need to start, and I think this is something because racism is it's a white people problem, right? Like we don't have, as a Latino and Marlon as a black man, we don't have the access to white people that white people have. So how are we supposed to confront the issue? Like we can't solve everything for you guys. You know what I mean? And I'm not, I appreciate everything you do, Walter. I'm not knocking you whatsoever. When I say white people, I mean in general.
I hear you. I hear you.
Not all white people is implied. Right. Not all white people is implied. But I think, we don't have the proximity to that. We don't have we don't have the racist uncle sitting across from us at the dinner table because we'd be in their face.
Actually,
I had, my mom,
I'm sorry. I just
Strike the Marlin. Strike the Marlin. Yeah. Keep going.
But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about it.
so I guess in a sense I split the baby. I had been on Twitter for many years, starting when I was still trading, and which I've talked about. But I still have an account on Twitter. I just don't. I post there every once in a while. The reason I didn't just sort of, you know, delete my account is that, there would be another Marlon Weems that would pop up that wasn't me. So,
Right.
that was the logic. But um, there's only so much of that shit that I'm willing to just sort of
Right.
put up with. And I had already been thinking about I'd already been on Substack for many years. I think this month, I think it makes 6 years that I've been doing my newsletter. So it predates,
Mhm.
all of this.
Right.
Um, when Substack dropped the Notes app, I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. This is kinda like Twitter,
I remember that.
but it's also where I can sort of center my business."
Right. I
So
learned about notes from you.
yeah, well, I was telling folks, "Hey, there's this other thing over here that's, maybe better." But anyway, I mean, and we run into it here too. There's somebody that is just determined to, like, make, like a fake Marlin account. I'm constantly
Mhm.
reporting them and all of that kind of stuff, which I guess that means you're doing something right, but, as far as the white supremacy thing goes, I'm from Arkansas, so it's just
Yeah.
really I don't get quite as, jazzed up about it because it's just not really a new phenomenon to me. And,
Yeah.
I get really disappointed in most we're talking about Democrats, and someone in the chat earlier s said, "Are we implying that Democrats don't lie?" I don't think a any politician is gonna shade the truth to some degree. It's just the name
Right.
of the game. But at the same time, let's not get it twisted, and let's not
Yeah.
do the false equivalency shit because, you know,
Yeah.
show me the Democrats over here trying to overthrow the government. I can't
Yeah.
there aren't any, okay?
Yeah.
And so
Protecting child rapists, the
that doesn't
Republicans do,
mean
Right.
Democrats are perfect. It doesn't mean that, vote blue no matter who, right? It doesn't mean any of that. I'm just saying we got a problem over here on the right-hand side of the
Huh.
equation that is orders of magnitude of the worst shit that I ever saw, and
Yeah.
came up
Yes.
during Jim Crow, okay?
Huh.
But there were not brown shirts on the street just, shooting folks in the head on TV practically. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I just don't,
Yeah.
um, I don't want us to try to, "Oh, hey, both sides this thing." Um, so I guess to your original question, the way I go at supremacy, as do we all, is I like to write about it. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm really not the guy for a Nazi to come up in my mentions because it's not going to end well. I'm such a smart ass,
Right.
I get joy out of embarrassing the shit out of these guys.
Me too.
Uh, So, and then I block them and move
Yeah.
on. That's
Yeah.
kind of, but we're not going to stamp out white supremacy. I mean, Arturo and I aren't.
Yeah.
It's, uh, I tell you, Walter, it's on, it's on you and your folks, man.
I'll take it,
It is a
and
white
that's I'm
problem.
glad you said that. Yeah. Well, I'll just say, I mean, it's like half of why I wanted to talk to you guys is just how I'm just trying to figure out how to activate white people. And, like, when I was talking to Will Fullwood all these years, and he's been saying, he's like, "Thank you just for listening." But even as I'm trying to listen, there'll be times I can tell I'm not quite hearing him, and that's kind of the issue, you know? And I'm at that point now too, where I'll talk to other white people and their faces will glaze over, you know? And I'm
Yeah.
just like, and it's
Mhm.
because of what Arturo said. There's been decades of indoctrination where it's just like, "Oh, we just don't even bring that up." Where you're like, the problem is white supremacy. The Confederacy has taken the fucking capital. You say things like this, and people just kind of glaze over. And it's like Arturo said, too, you look at all the videos, there's been white supremacists going on podcasts and shit openly for decades, telling us exactly that they're taking us here. And white people still are like, I don't think that's the issue. I think it's, and it's like, the other day I was
Well, Walter,
experimenting over the weekend. Go
you have
ahead.
to really, what you're saying is so accurate, but to me, it goes back to not so much people saying we don't talk about it, as much as it's people saying it doesn't exist.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And where I come from, when, it would be, "Oh, you're gonna play the race card. Oh,
Yeah.
well, there I'm playing that card because that's the card."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
the thing we're playing, right?
so many white people, I think even now, seeing everything that they see, are very hesitant to say it's white supremacy.
Yes.
They wanna say, "Oh, it's a bad apple. Oh, not all white people." Okay,
Yeah.
until we get to a place where
Yeah.
the majority of white people are willing to acknowledge that white privilege is a thing,
Yeah.
it came from white supremacy, you know, yeah, just because Lincoln freed the slaves didn't mean it all went away. Until we get, like, to just that baseline acknowledgement, we ain't going too far.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing about white privilege, I tell people this all the time. Like, I drove a diesel truck for a long time until it was stolen recently. I had it for like 20 something years. I live in Texas. Look at me, right? Like, I tie my hair back, whatever, put on a polo shirt, cops ain't fucking with me. You know what I mean? But as
I
soon
don't
as
know,
they
man. That goatee might give you
I mean, maybe. Yeah, as soon as they
that might
see
give you away, man.
right. What's interesting about that situation is when I do get pulled over, and this happened to us over the holidays. My son was driving, he got pulled over. And as soon as the cops see your name on your license, their demeanor changes. And like,
Everything.
you see it. Like, it's like a light switch. And a lot of people don't understand that. So yeah, no, for me, white privilege in that sense, with cops and stuff on the street, basically being invisible, because let's face it,
Yeah.
in a sense, white people are invisible, right? Unless you're black or brown, you don't really stand out. White people will ignore other white people if they always focus on the black and brown people. And that's, I've always said that, like, white people are invisible in the US because of that.
Yeah.
But like, we can't like ignore it. Like, I understand a black man leaving Twitter when Elon Musk took over and the Nazis coming. I'm not going to fault you for that, right? It's just like I say, when they're trying to push us to the right? They're trying to say we should meet these bigots in the middle. What I remind them of is that when you invite a Klansman into the tent, the people in the tent will flee.
Yes.
So is it worth bringing in a bigot if you're going to alienate everybody else? And that's the case here, right? Like, that's kind of what we're talking about. I don't expect Marlon to stick it out. Like, I'm surprised Allison did, because she gets so much hate.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and when me and her talk, like, you can hear it and you can see it, and even in her text messages, you can tell that it wears on her. But she has a lot of support too.
Mhm.
So that does help. And it does, like, it's
She's a
like
strong woman too, just in
she
her
Oh,
way.
is. She's extremely strong.
Talking about Allison Wilkes,
Dr.
Dr.
Right.
Allison Wilkes.
Yeah, and you see that, and I just, I don't know. I have a hard time because I'm, like I said the other day when we were on a call, I'm white enough, right? So, like, you hear things, you see things. People don't realize that I'm Latino until they hear me speak Spanish, and it's, I don't know. I confront it. I try to confront it as much as possible.
That's what I wanted to talk about too. Is I've been interviewing these candidates and getting back to people being mistrustful of the Democrats, and it's like part of I mean, yes, rightfully so. Most of them are worthless, but I've been interviewing all these progressive candidates, and the other week I interviewed gubernatorial candidate Francesca Hong, and she said to me, it was so funny as I was talking to her, and she's just like, "I think we've had enough crusty white men in politics." Then she goes, "No offense," and I was just, "No, perfect. Say that." But I think we all need to get more of these. You guys too, reach out to these candidates, please, please, please. Any Democratic progressive candidate, because they should be talking to us, right? They should be talking to real people. They insulate themselves, and a lot of these ones that are not getting any media attention, they'd be happy to talk to you, Marlon, or you, Arturo. But when we talk to them, then we have to tell them, because the Democratic messaging sucks. They don't use any of their arguments, and us talking to them, like, just basic things, like when they call, like when they refuse to just acknowledge that it's completely legal to cross the border. If they don't say that, That's a white supremacy argument. When they're calling people illegal, that's a white. So say the words. Accuse your opponent of using white supremacy arguments. Both siderism is a white supremacy argument. The not all thing is a white supremacy argument. Even like legal restrictions on abortion is white supremacy. That's
Yes.
control and murder of women. It's not a legitimate viewpoint. And because the Democrats always try to legitimize or just ignore it, it's like, oh, we don't want to go down to that level. They enable it. We have to start calling it out, I think. But it's like I said, I'd say this to other white people and their faces gloss over, but we just got to keep repeating. That's another thing. Don't just because you're saying truth doesn't mean people are going to listen. I think that's a big misconception in the world. You keep saying it anyway. So go ahead,
Yeah.
Marlon.
There's a an old basically the business that I was in, when you say, oh, I ran a trading desk, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you're a salesman. And so in the beginning, you learn you learn how to close and all that kind of stuff, right? And the guy that I guess an early mentor, to your point, Walter, said what you got to do is you got to tell him, and then you got to tell him what you told him,
Yep.
and then you got to fucking tell him again.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to tell people over and over and over. I have
Yeah.
sold bonds to somebody and I'm hanging the phone up and they go, wait, what'd I buy? Yeah. People aren't even, they're just not,
Yep.
stuff
Yep.
just goes through and so you really have to beat those points, over and just hammer it in. Um, something just kind of on this same thing. And, just to talk about Democrats, because I don't want it to seem like since, there is a difference that to me is palpable, but at the same time, Democrats disappoint me so much, and it's for the reasons that you just kind of touched on. I'll give you an example, but it's also, and I have to put some of this on the media because the media doesn't question Democrats in the same way they do Republicans. I'll give you,
Right. Right.
watch a lot of Bloomberg finance news, and it's as far as straight news goes, they're pretty much the standard that we've got. And I would say, even CNBC, you got guys on there that what their politics are, but these are basically, just boring journalists, right? Or, news folks. So yesterday, um, I'm trying to the senator from Texas was on, Bob Cornyn, I think.
John Cornyn. Yeah.
John Cornyn, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so, they're asking him about, this thing that Trump said yesterday about nationalizing the elections, or maybe it was a couple of days ago, but he said it now multiple times. And the answer, and this is what you gotta respect about Republicans, they get the script and they're all on it. They're all saying the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's the batshit crazy Republican or the so-called moderate. They're all saying the same thing. So they asked him about it. His response was something like, well, first of all, he never answered the question. His
Right.
response was, well, we just want election integrity. And these blue states, essentially, he said these blue states, they're breaking all these rules, and we just want to make sure only Americans are voting. And I'm sitting here shouting at the TV for the follow up, which is, do you have any evidence that this
Yeah.
is happening? And these guys just don't know how
Right.
to deal with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so, my senator, or one of my senators, is the next guest. Tom Budd is his name, I guess. He says the exact same thing. They ask him,
Really.
he says virtually the same thing. Democrat comes on. They don't ask the Democrat about this at all. They ask the Democrat something about, ICE or ICE,
Yeah.
but they don't ask the same question and the Democrat, to me, who is standing right down the hall from the guy. They're all in Washington. I'm like, dude, why don't you redirect this shit and say, hey, I want to address what these guys are saying.
Right.
Do that. They just don't do it.
Yeah, yeah, that's like it's inherent media bias, right? And like you said, some channels are going to lean one way or the other. It's when it comes to that, like getting the news, if you're not willing to dig deeper, you're going to get duped. You have to look into these things because you can't count on people who read a teleprompter to do actual journalism. That's actually not the case 99% of the time. Somebody else did the journalism. They're just reading it to you off a screen.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
but there's some basic follow-up and knowing this,
Yeah.
even with the most reasonable news, outlets, it's on the Democrats to say,
Yes.
to sort of frame the argument. And
Yes.
they just by and large, I mean, you got people like AOC, who's the
right.
best athlete Democrats have.
Yeah.
And I almost said for reasons unknown to me, but I know the reasons. They just won't use her like she should be used.
Oh, yeah. Well,
But you got guys that are so scared that
yeah.
she's gonna, take their spot that they think is theirs, next up for president or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. That
Pardon,
said,
I usually don't curse this early.
oh, I'm sorry. I've been cursing like a madman already, so I apologize for that, Marlon.
Man,
Better.
it really gets my
Yeah.
gets me angry.
Let it out. Let it out. But yeah, I mean, there's that decorum gap. And it's just like the Republicans have managed to weaponize the fact that most people are conflict averse. Like I remember when we used to get telemarketers when I was growing up, you'd sit there and you couldn't get off the phone because we were just like, well, I just don't want to talk about and it takes you a while to learn to just hang the damn thing up. And that's what we got to train our Democratic representatives to do. But they have to be pushing back. Another thing you said too is the Republicans all have the same speech because they've all been indoctrinated with the same white supremacy narrative. They all, I mean, and that's part of white supremacy is the toxic mind virus that makes you disregard reality because nothing in reality supports the white supremacy theory. It's all just complete bullshit. So they all have to learn this thing that is out of step with reality. And that kind of confuses. But at some point, I mean, all of our Ivy League jerks who are Democratic representatives, if they're not willing to acknowledge that white supremacy is the driving ideology of the Republicans and they just don't have any tools to combat them, you just point it out. You say, what you just said is a BS white supremacy argument. And because they're afraid of controversy and they're still adhering to that out of favor decorum, they continually lose and think they surrender. So this is what I'm trying to convey when I talk to these progressive candidates, because whether they win or lose their elections, I want them to get on debate stages and talk about these things with other Democrats. And then hopefully if they get up and they talk about it with Republicans, we'll at least make this part of the national narrative because it's just a gap right now. We're just not even talking about it. And we need to start talking.
If there's one thing that's consistent in this country is, pushing back against anything left of Democrats. And, when you talk about, Republican messaging, that's the thing, right? They have one agenda.
Yep.
And that's Christian white nationalism. And they don't give a damn about anything else. So it's easy for them to get on message because they don't have any moral standing or any values or any of that stuff, right? You try to use rote messaging among Democrats, and there's such a divergent viewpoint across the party that, you might get a King Jeffries to fall into the rote messaging that you talk about all the time.
Mhm.
But you may not get AOC to do it. You're not going to get Delia Ramirez to do it, or, Greg Casar, or any of the progressives. So it's in Texas, one of the things we see a lot, and it's really annoying, is national Democrats like a Pelosi or Hakeem Jeffries tipping the scale in favor of
Yeah.
Somebody like Henry Cuellar, who's anti-abortion, pro-ICE, pro-border patrol, all that stuff, over a progressive who's, pro-women's rights, pro-LGBT, pro-trans, all these things. And they'll bury somebody like that. And in Texas, economic populism wins, dude. This is Texas.
Look at what's going on with Jasmine Crockett right now.
Right. And
Puerto Rico.
And if you just let a leftist economic populist go, they'd probably win. Well, we've been trying to do this centrist thing and haven't won a statewide race since '94 because of it. It's the James Carville thing, right?
Yeah.
You got Talarico. Talarico's worst and biggest problem right now is James Carville. If he got rid of James Carville, he'd be able to handle all this nonsense that keeps coming up in the race better, but he's not. And, Carville is a terrible influence in Democratic politics because
The
fucking
story
racist.
that I heard, and I actually, I'll have to post the video. It's really kind of interesting, and I've been meaning. I'm glad you're here, so you can kind of maybe address it. So what I heard was that Democrats had kind of put together a dream team in Texas.
Mhm.
Al Rico was going to run for governor. I think it's Beto was going to run for attorney general. Jasmine's going to run, and they had, other less, in some of the lower level races, they had it all filled in. And the name I heard was Liz Smith. She's a Democratic consultant for a long, long time. I heard that they flew Talrico to New York, wined and dined him, got the big money donors in his face, et cetera, et cetera. Next thing you know, he's not running for governor, he's running for Senate.
Yeah.
And, Jasmine, and so what happens now is they're gonna basically, counteract each other, and they're gonna give Republicans, whoever wins, there's gonna be all kinds of media clips, that sound bites that are gonna come out of it where they're attacking each other. And it just kind of, to me, jeopardizes either one of them being able to win. I
Yeah,
hope that
no, I mean,
does.
we do politics different here, man. It's pretty dirty. You should see if you saw the ads Republicans are running trying to out MAGA each other and talking trash about each other. What's going on with Talarico and Crockett is a drop in the bucket compared to that. We
Mm,
do politics dirty here. That's just how it is.
mhm.
And honestly, we always talk about how people need to vote in the primaries, right?
Yeah.
That's what this is doing. This is going to mobilize all this controversy between the two is probably going to mobilize more voters than anything else. And primaries are where you weed out the riffraff, so we don't end up with another John
I mean,
Fetterman.
I agree with you. I guess in this case, I have nothing against Talrico. In fact, I mean, when he sort of came on the scene, I was like, dang, this guy should run for national office. Um, but I guess strategically, it would have made more sense for them not to run against each other, I guess is all.
Right. No, Talarico has been a state rep for a long time. He's popular in the state, not well known nationally.
Now, Jasmine Crockett was also, right? A state rep.
Jasmine Crockett is in Congress.
Well, I know now, but
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
as a state
See,
rep, I think, right?
National Jasmine Crockett already had a national profile, national footprint.
Right.
Talarico he would have gave Republicans a run for their money for governor. And I really don't know why he opted to run for the Senate, but he should have stayed. He
Yeah.
should have went for the governor
Well,
race.
no, it's that internal
right.
sabotage. I think
Well,
it's
like I said,
deliverance.
I mean, they apparently the story that's out there is that the consultants got in
Yes.
space.
Right.
And the next thing you know, look, they threw a bunch of money at him and sent him back home, and he's
Yeah.
like, you know what? I think I want to be a senator. Now, why would they do that? And that to me,
Because they got
I would just-
racists. Yeah,
back to the
consultants.
white supremacy question.
Yes.
I have heard people say, "Oh, she's too ghetto.
Yeah.
She's too
They don't know
real.
Texas.
She's
They
too."
don't know Texas.
Well, we need some ghetto up in here.
Right.
Well,
Right.
What's going on right now?
yeah.
We need
They
some.
don't know Texas. People who say that don't know Texas. People who say she can't win because she's black don't know Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of black representatives in Congress. Texas is one of the blackest states in the country. Texas is also the most voter suppressed state in the country.
Yeah.
So,
When you
if you're
have
gonna
that,
fire people up, fire them up however you need to fire them up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We do politics dirty here. That's just how it is.
Well, and it's people like Carville, and and
Right.
it's those guys that seem like they're your friends until those critical moments when they can fuck you up worst of all. And it's like I think a guy like Carville's a bigger threat than these, than the extremists on the right, because you know what they are. But it's like these guys that are like, "Oh, I'm all good. I'm good. I'm on your side." And then the minute they get close enough to really get the knife in as far as they possibly can. I talked with Natasha Kaye yesterday, and she'd been working on Kamala Harris's campaign. And she was just like, the whole time, she's like, the whole time I was in that campaign, she says, it just felt like, it's like, why are they doing this? And it's like in your mind, you're like, they can't be trying to throw this. And it's like after you can kind of tell she's kind of processing this, because there's so many people within the Democratic Party that fuck us over every chance that they get, because there's a bunch of racists within the Democrats too that we have to get out. And so we have to start talking about it. Start talking about white supremacy. Go ahead, Arm.
Well, so the problem with Democrats, and I use age to sort of underscore it, but it's really not so much how old a particular person is, but it's that they are fighting the last war. They're still, you remember back in I guess the 90s when being called a liberal was like a pejorative, right? And Democrats were like running from being called a liberal. Okay. They're still, that's where and that's what kind of fucked us with Biden.
Yeah.
Love him. He's a good guy, did a lot of good stuff, tried to do some stuff, but he still didn't accept. These ain't those guys anymore, dude. These are those guys that you used to have a burger with in the freaking, in the Capitol Grill. These are some different folks. And even the guys you thought you knew, they ain't pushing back on that stuff. So to me, Democrats' biggest mistake is not embracing progressivism more.
Right. The
Look
thing
at,
is, though,
I mean, just since Bernie came on the scene, Democrats have moved to that, towards him by force, but they don't like it. It's begrudging. They just don't want to acknowledge that people, how the hell you going to let a Republican act like being a radical liberal because you want folks to have health insurance?
Yeah.
Something's crazy about that.
you
Meanwhile, these guys are like shooting folks on the street.
Right. And like, pushing back on like leftist ideology, this is where a lot of our domestic policy and our foreign policy come together. And it like, this whole dominion over Latin America, that's the same Christian nationalism, right? Dominion over Black communities in the US, dominion over Latino communities, inflicting power over people who think leftist thoughts. All that is the same. And look, we got to face it, it's bipartisan, right? Just Republicans are a lot more over the top about it these days. And, that started with the Tea Party, where they started getting extreme. It's the over racism against Obama. Seeing all these Republicans that made careers out of being in Congress flee when the Tea Party started showing up is another example of running from the problem, right? Now we have conservatives, right, trying to get us to shift to the right, trying to tell them we need to meet these bigots in the middle. And my argument to them is simple. Look, if you want to go back to dog whistle politics, there's a party for that. Go take it back. Don't try to turn us into the dog whistle politics party, because you end up with situations like Tallarico right now with this whole mediocre nonsense. And I say it's nonsense, but and as much as I don't like Colin Allred, and I didn't agree with his little anti-trans dog whistles in the ads, I defended him, man. Right, I defended him for standing up for himself. He's running for Congress too, right? And
now he was going to run for Senate, was he not?
He was, and he dropped out of that race. Poll. He couldn't get out of Cateen's, but so now he's running to represent his district in Congress. But look, whether you're running for Congress or not, if somebody calls you mediocre, you have every right.
Yeah.
Right. Whether they say you're a mediocre campaigner, regardless, they just called you mediocre. You have every right to defend yourself. And as a Black man, being called mediocre in any fucking way, then I defended
that rings the whole different bell, dude.
Right. And I've defended Allred for this. And Tallarico people don't realize that clapping back on me and clapping back on him, they are using not so subtle racism that's very common in this fucking state.
Yeah.
The thing about what they don't understand is racism knows no politics. And if you need proof of that, come to Texas, where not so subtle racism comes from liberals and Klan like racism comes from the right, because we got racism everywhere.
Yeah.
And,
Remember a couple of years ago? Oh, you and I think collaborated, Arturo, on an essay about this. It was out in
yes,
California, remember? And somehow tapes came out, and it was like all these Latino
yeah,
politicians just saying, and these were Democrats, just
yeah.
just letting the cat out of the freaking bag, dude.
Yeah.
City council, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was city council, but it just really tells you
Yes.
that it's not a party thing. It's a systemic America thing.
That's exactly it. And I really feel our job here on this kind of new media or fringe media, we really have to push that and emphasize that. I mean, the Democrats, I mean, the right is blatantly and openly racist. The Democrats do not respond. And so, and this is what we've been saying too. It's like Democratic candidates, they carve out parts of the donations they get to fund all these hate podcasters and things. Democrats don't come on and talk to it, except for the progressives that are doing it now. But it's like,
Yeah.
why are the Democrat candidates going on to oligarch-owned media that then suppresses their content? They can, on their while they're driving somewhere, they can jump on their phone and talk to me about something important that needs to be said. But they don't like to do it because they don't like to hear the pushback from people like us who say, look, you guys have to call out this racist shit that the Republicans are saying. Call out their lies. When Republicans start calling everybody illegal who doesn't look like them, they're inciting violence. Say that. That incites violence against my family. I'm sick and tired of having Republicans. I'm like, what guarantees do we have that kids are not being raped in ICE detention centers? I want accountability. Ask that question to Caroline Levitt or whatever her name is. And it's like all these things. What guarantees do we have that they are not hiring pedophiles and murderers and rapists to be these agents? I want those guarantees. Why aren't we asking these questions? These are the kind of questions that should be part of the national media, but nobody's asking them at all. And I think the only way we can do it is by, go out, be active, and fight those other candidates at any level.
You know,
They can be
I
school
have
board
to
members.
be honest, man. I hadn't thought about inviting a politician.
Oh,
Now,
you'd be
listen to
great.
this,
Do it.
though. Um,
I'll introduce you to some.
Absolutely, do it. Arturo and I were talking, it's been a few weeks ago, and he gave me the idea. I actually did this yesterday. I sent an email out to, basically every aspect of the Democratic Party in North Carolina just to say, hey, I'm over here. Here's what I'm doing. And, support me. I mean, because the point that Arturo made to me that I really hadn't given, I don't think, proper, mind space is that Republicans, and we know this, they're at the ground level, man. They are at the dog catcher election,
Yeah.
city council, school board, all of this stuff. And whoever comes out on top, it might not be a whole lot of money, but they're throwing money at these people. They're supporting them. All the newsletters,
Yeah.
these guys are subscribers and they're paying, right? I do not have as far as I know, I'll do a search later when we get done, but I don't have a single .gov in my,
Yeah. Go
what,
support us.
17,000 subscribers. It's
I
just
have a couple. They're not paid, but I have a couple. Yeah.
well, you're an investigative, legend, man. I mean, they'd be stupid not to be surprised.
Yeah. I guess.
Like, well, come on now.
Legend.
One of my first subscribers was Mitch McConnell's chief of staff.
Okay, that's wild.
Yeah. I was like, okay, you want to see what I'm writing? Fine. Go ahead. Come at me, bro.
I mean, we know that they read our stuff.
Oh, they do.
I think the traditional news media really, I'm not going to say stalks, but you think about it, smart. You got basically this farm club
Oh, yeah.
Substack of folks that are, not well funded, but we're not dumb, and we're
Oh,
out in front on a lot of stuff, and I think they've begun to realize this. And so, they'd be dumb if they didn't just kind of scroll through the timelines and see what's popping,
yeah.
And
So-
look at my latest piece, man. Okay, once twice, but when it happened a third time, I'm like, okay, this is
Yeah. See? Yeah, I've been
this is
through that. Been through that. And I've called people out, like Julie Ainsley at MSNBC, things like that, because they're like, you read it and you're like, dude, is that not just a paragraph I wrote 2 days ago? And then you go and look and it's like the same paragraph reworded.
Yep.
I'm like, you thieving ass. And then
dude.
her
I mean,
her
what
stuff would be
happened
like
in my case?
exclusive. I'm like, it's exclusive. I had it first. Yeah, I hate that shit.
Yep. Yep.
Anyway,
Yep.
as
I
far
I
as
really hesitate to even call it plagiarism so much. I mean, because look, what I write, I'm using sources and different things, but it's just that the concept. Okay, so for example, I don't know, 6 months ago, I'm talking about how Japan or Chinese EVs are killing us, right?
right, yeah,
Man, I got so much incoming because there's a certain segment out there. If you say if you say anything that sounds remotely like you're criticizing Elon Musk,
yeah,
here they come.
pro
I
China.
mean,
If
and
it
it's
sounds pro
funny to me,
China,
right? But I just kind of have been making this point and just posting videos about Chinese cars, and I've written a couple. And it's not just the automobile industry; it's
a lot.
across just silos, man. It's bad. And then I opened the Wall Street Journal, and this woman has, a reporter. Um, I drove this Chinese EV for, a month, and I don't want an American car anymore. And the sources she was citing,
No,
sources, dude. And I mean, in a couple of cases, she actually got the interview, but I'm
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
this woman read my piece. There's no
Yep.
had to,
question that she
had
read
to.
it. Now, that's not plagiarism. It's just
No,
that their microphone or their megaphone is so much bigger than ours
Yeah.
and they have
that they
access
can come and look at what you're saying and what you're saying and what we're writing, and
and
then they
build.
sort of double back, right?
Yeah.
And say, "Hey, I got an idea."
Yeah.
You
They
know,
could at least give us a $50 paid subscription, those assholes. If they're
Something.
stealing all of our stuff, we're not they could help us exist. Those
So,
jerks.
I wanted to jump back to, you said something about, nobody's asking ICE, right, about who they're hiring. I might be the only person, but I am. Okay. So, like, I've been doing this for months. And I think I told you in a text earlier today, or I told somebody that at this point, I feel like I'm trolling them with every phone call and every email. I'm like, dude, so, the last one, I was candid. I'm like, look, your agents are not doing you any favors right now. As far as like
Mhm.
trying to get away from hiring racists and white supremacists. They're leaving racist material
Yeah.
at places after they detain people. They're using racist language. They sound like Klansmen. Like, they're not doing you any favors.
You
You're
got
gonna have
SS
to,
tattoos and swastikas and shit.
right. And I was like, you're gonna have to address this at some point. And like in that email that I sent yesterday, it's a whole string of emails with all these questions. And when I say you're going to have to answer for this at some point, you're going to have to answer for the 2 dozen questions in this email thread that I've been asking you about since like fucking
Yeah.
April. You know what I mean? And the thing is, when people initially said that ICE were all Proud Boys and stuff at the beginning, I knew that wasn't the case. One, it was too soon. Two, ICE didn't have the money and they weren't hiring anybody. They were bringing in agents from other agencies. ICE helped me debunk that they were hiring Nazis, right? And this was what, March? But then April or May comes around and more Nazi stuff starts coming up. And I'm like, okay, look, I appreciate that you helped me debunk this last time, but can we address this? And
Yeah.
then another one, can we address this? What about this? Like, there's all these cases. And the reason I keep sending that same email with every question is because it's getting stored on a government server. And at
Mhm.
some point, whether it's them, somebody else who gets replaced in the press office, or another inmate, or whoever, somebody's going to have to answer for that because it's on the record. So, a lot of the times that happens. And, then if say a Democrat comes into office and they want to just really burn Trump, they're going to dump a lot of shit on me. I
Yeah.
promise you. And that's how that works. It takes years of work, but sometimes that's how it works. You
And
know,
go ahead.
what? No. Like this Trump State Department was open about just roasting, Biden's State Department. And I'm like, cool, thanks for confirming this. Thanks for confirming this. Thanks for confirming that last election in Venezuela was bullshit.
Yeah.
All this stuff, all these stories that I did, you just confirmed them all for me. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, your work on that has been so invaluable and so helpful, and what I've been trying to do is just try to package it in a way so that Democratic candidates can use that because Republicans come out and say, well, they're doxing our people. And so it's like, and then Democrats don't have a response. So the response is, what guarantee do we have then that the people you're hiring are not, child rapists? And that's
Yeah.
these things. And we have to give our candidates permission to ask questions like this. And the
Yeah.
ones that come on and talk to me, I mean, I've discovered this just in this year, talking to guys like you, where it's like, I'm sitting at home thinking I'm just like, I'm the only person who thinks like this. I get to talk to you guys and it's like, oh yeah, it's like you said, there's educated people on Substack because educated people don't get access to the media because Democrats and the media, they don't want to be talking to people who actually have degrees and accomplishments. They only want to be talking to people that, quote the BS line that they want to force us all to regurgitate. I get so many people attacking me like, oh, you're being divisive. You're part of the problem. And it's like, I'm just trying to offer some constructive criticism so this party that continually loses and loses and loses can start winning for a change because I'm getting sick of losing because we're the ones that have to run all the risks and they get to sit in their mansions on their elliptical next to these blatant white supremacists who are showing their kind face because they're out in public and because they've had everything handed to them in their life. They're willing to believe the lie that these people say, like everything is fine. So we have to pull that scab off is kind of what I'm getting to. And I guess it's just like figuring out the tactics for doing that. But yeah, I run into it. I know you guys have insight when I start talking to white people and their faces just glaze over, and it's just like they just stop hearing you. So it's like,
Yeah.
how do we get through to
Being
that?
black and telling them that truth, man.
Yeah. I know.
So
I
I'll
want your
tell you a
insight.
story, and it's you know for context. I know a lot of your folks may not know me. So I live in North Carolina on the coast, on an island, and it is about, I don't know, 30 miles from Wilmington, North Carolina. It is not, I mean, I'm not the only black person around, but it's close. So, um, but
There's 1.5 per capita.
there, it's funny.
Sorry.
This go round, they're not nearly as many Trump flags and MAGA hats. You don't really see that much stuff. So that tells me that folks kind of understand that this shit is not really cool. But on the occasions when I have raised the issue of racism, it is just, I can't even describe it. It's like just a
Yeah.
shock to the system.
Yes.
Like, because they're most of the people, they only ever hang out with other white people,
Mhm.
right? And most of those people in their friend groups and whatever kind of think the same way they do. So in the occasion where I'm sitting in the wine bar or, having a beer and there's a guy down the street or down the bar saying something stupid, I'm probably going to say something.
Yeah. You have
And
to.
I do have the ability to not be confrontational, um, which in a way is the confrontation because they can't like strike back, and it's just simple stuff that they've never thought about before.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a relative. Um, this is some years ago, and it was like I happened to be in a room with, the 80-year-old white dude that's, just everybody's gone and it's me and him, and somehow the TV ends up on Fox News. And I'm like looking at this stuff and I'm like, don't say nothing, Marlon. And we're drinking a beer, we're talking, it's all friendly. And at a certain point, there was this is years ago, and it was an election year. And, I'm just sitting there. And at some point, the guy goes, they're talking about, of course, illegal, undocumented immigrants and immigration, all this stuff. At some point, the guy, he can't hold it. And he's like, I just don't want them coming over here voting. And I'm like, okay. I said, you know what I said? I said, so how would that work? I said, cause I mean, I know the shit I got to come up with to vote. I had just moved here. So
Yeah.
I'm like, so these people that you're worried about,
Yeah.
how would they go about voting? Cause they'd have to have like what, birth certificates and, all this stuff. Right. And it was just silence for a minute. He was like, never thought of that. Right?
Never thought of that.
Nobody'd ever said, because they're all around each other and they're
Yeah.
all sort of singing this little verse together, and nobody ever says, well, how would they do that?
Yeah.
How would these millions of people come in? And by the way, they're here. And I said this,
Yep.
I said, they're not supposed to be here legally. Why would they draw attention to themselves?
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to vote to help Democrats. Tell me what's
That's
the
why
logic behind that?
Right, that's why immigrants commit less crime too, like, they don't want
And
contact with the
trying to
police.
draw attention.
Yeah.
Right. They don't want contact with the cops or the authorities or election
Yeah.
officials, like, that
It's crazy. I mean, because if you
No,
think about
yeah.
what these people are like insurgents coming over here. No, that's not why they're coming. They're
Yeah.
coming to feed their families, work
Yeah.
and make a decent living and,
Yeah.
not have to run from freaking cartels and shit.
And this
Well,
is exactly what our Democratic candidates have to say, exactly what you just
I
said.
don't know why
They
they
have
never
to do
do.
that. I
I
mean, everybody's
honestly
gotta
don't
know
know
this.
why.
I've
Yeah.
been using
Think about it. If Democrats just said that kind of thing, and to me, Democrats shouldn't be talking about anything.
Yeah.
But how the fuck do we have a president that's got all these felonies and all in this,
Yeah. Mention it every
in this
time.
Epstein shit? I mean, nobody's saying he's guilty, but he's guilty. But nobody's saying that he's
Okay.
guilty. But doesn't he need to go take care of that and let somebody
Yeah.
else run this country? Because
The
come on.
the Democrats are afraid to make them look stupid, but it's like these people, the white supremacy ideology is about ignorance. It's like so we have a right to make them look like fools. And it's like, if you've been to a conference, if you don't know what you're saying, the other people tear you apart. And that's part of the
Yeah.
critical thinking process, right? But why do we just abdicate that power when it comes
Walter,
to these
man,
white
I have to
supremacists
tell you,
who are killing people?
if I were like 20 or 30 years younger, I'd be running for something and it would
Oh,
be so much fucking fun
oh,
because where
do
I
it.
come from, I literally, man, I made a living on the telephone, right? And we had to go through, like, this is way, way, way back before they'd ever let me get on the phone as a salesperson. You had to understand how to rebut
Yeah.
a no. Like a guy says, oh, I don't want that shit. Well, you had to have an answer. Democrats do not know how to rebut anything.
Right.
They just kind of take it and change the subject. I wouldn't, man, we should be hearing nonstop. Why is Donald Trump in the damn Epstein file thousands of times?
Yeah.
What the hell? I mean, okay, coincidence is one thing, but this dude is in the Epstein files more than Epstein.
Yeah. And like it's funny because I keep seeing, like, just now while we're talking, I happened to glance over at the TV and another investigation in Europe is being launched against another politician who happened to be in the Epstein files. And like all these investigations are popping up all over the world because of all these people. But in the United States, we're like literally doing nothing. And if you look on social media, everybody from all over the world is like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Like,
Yeah.
why aren't y'all doing anything?
You got
Yeah.
Andrew over here, whatever his name. I didn't even know the dude had a last name until now. Andrew Montblanc. What I didn't even know about that. Yeah, they busted this dude all the way back down to his government name.
Yeah.
He's not even a prince anymore.
Yeah.
He had to
Nice.
find a new place to live.
He's got a French name.
It's like Black and something. It's all this royal family stuff. And then Windsor, which,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, they didn't just do that shit. They
Right.
know there's something there that's really, really bad. And
Right.
same thing, you're talking about Lithuania. The guy you're just talking about, Arturo, I
Yeah.
saw it this morning. Lithuanian guy. You got a guy that was ambassador to the US, I think from the UK. He quit the Labor Party.
Yes, I saw that.
He took his ambassadorship. They said, "No, you know what? You come on home because you're over there in America. I don't know what you're doing. Okay, you come on home." And day
Ah,
before yesterday, he has left his party. Meanwhile,
yeah,
we just made our big pedophile president.
yeah. Let me ask real quick. I've got time. Do you guys have time to go? They're at the hour. I'd love to sit here forever, but are you okay for a little while longer? Or?
Yeah, I got a little.
Okay. And then somebody asked Marlon if you had a GoFundMe going for some plant
Oh
for a
man,
apartment.
I was so here's what's up. My wife has I it's her business. I'm just kind of tech support. And we have this plant bus. It's a bus that's been turned into a greenhouse, and we've had cold winters, but not 40-year cold winters with a foot of snow. So the answer to the question is um, we're gonna do a GoFundMe because we got over a foot of snow, and at a certain point, it got down to like 7-degree wind chill or something like that, and it wiped out our
Oh,
entire
wow.
inventory. I mean, it's really sad, man,
Yeah.
because it's plants,
Yeah.
and it's the kind of stuff insurance kinda fades you on. I saw actually on Instagram yesterday, another lady, similar problem, thought she had insurance on her plants, and they told her, "Oh, well, that's spoilage. We don't cover that."
Oh,
So, it's we're gonna lose. I mean, we're having to cancel our Valentine's events and all of that stuff. So,
Good.
do you
you,
have the link
you
to drop? Can you
and
drop
so
the
yeah,
link to your GoFundMe?
I haven't even set it up yet. We'll
Oh, okay. We'll
probably
be
do it
aware.
today
It'll
or
work out.
tomorrow. So thanks for asking, and follow me, subscribe, whatever, and it's coming
Yeah.
today or tomorrow.
I wanna pivot back though and just like activating like the white population, man. I'm just like the indifference, the indifference to all the suffering that's going on right now and how to activate them. And over the weekend, with that stuff, I guess that Liam Ramos finally did get released. Well,
Yeah.
that story, and I went out to the little cross country ski park and I was out there and I was just like, you get all worked up, you get this. I'm halfway between yelling and crying all the time, especially when it comes to little kids. So I'm just like, I can't just walk around. And I'm just like, the first thing I did, I went up to this guy. This guy came up to me and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not doing very good. Not with all the shit that's going on right now. I'm doing pretty bad." And he just stopped. And he was this guy who was a little shorter than me. He just looked European. He had this close cut. He looked like he was in his 60s, like one of these guys that he looked like the most interesting man in the world from the Dos Equis commercial. Like one of those kind of guys. And he just stopped and he's just like, I grew up and he started telling me because he was in Europe and he got in some sort of detainment center when he was a kid. I didn't know when because he started telling. I got so emotional I started to cry, and I'd been putting on my ski poles. I took them off. I gave this guy a hug, and I'm just like, buddy, and he's just like, you just have to have these conversations with people. And this guy, he starts to walk away. He's like, thanks. I'm like, I'm glad I said something. Glad you said something. He starts to walk away. He turns over his shoulder and looks at me and he says, "There's a lot more us than there are them," he said. And I'm
Mm.
just like, I started skiing. I'm like ready to burst into tears. And it's like, we can't stop ourselves from having these talks. We have to
Right.
say these things. And so then I was out skiing and I'm just like, I'd go by people and when you're skiing, you say, hiya, that's like the hiya. And then I'd be like, hiya, stop ice. So I'm just like, I'm like, well, that's too negative. So I just started saying, hiya. And then I'd say, justice for good, ski for justice, ski for good. And I'd get that damn face again. That just like, but sometimes we got to give them a little bit of space because it takes a minute for it to sink in. Some of them, I mean, the hostile ones are never gonna, because I'm a big dude. They're never gonna. It's just like you were saying. They're like never gonna get mad. And it's always like the ladies out there. I'll say justice for good. And next time I saw, they were just smiling like they turn on the headlights of a car. They were so happy. And it's just we're indoctrinated to think we can't say these things, and like it's wrong to piss off people that are talking pure ignorance. Like it's wrong to humiliate them. That's not wrong. We have to humiliate them because otherwise kids hear that shit. And so just any way we can, just keep and it's got to be positive, is what I'm discovering. What's wrong with
Most
saying
of 'em,
justice for
man,
good? You know, that's positive.
My biggest, like I said, my it's sort of my go-to when I hear these people or see them. It's ask them a question. They almost never have an answer. They almost never do. I was somewhere, and this was back when we had that first really long shutdown, and it was looking like we might default on our debt. And some guy is like, "We ought to just go ahead and default," you know. And so I'm like, "Really? You got a mortgage?" "Yeah." What all right, US, we default on our debt. What do you think's gonna happen to your mortgage, your interest rate? Uh,
Yeah.
about that. I mean, that's what's so fascinating, I guess, about this whole time is all of these people that are so down with this shit,
Ah,
and it's not good for them.
Right.
It hurts them maybe more than me, you know? I mean, I but it really says something about just the lie that they've been sold, that their daddy and their daddy's daddy was sold. You
yeah,
know,
that's it.
they're not even looking out for themselves,
Mhm.
and
Right.
that's the part that, man, it just puzzles the shit out of me. At some point, I mean, shit, bacon is expensive for them too.
Yeah. You
It's not
know,
it's
it,
not
it,
just only expensive for the progressive guy, it's expensive for
right.
them too, and I don't know, maybe at this point.
Well, there's a mentality too that's pretty ingrained, in U.S. society since Jim Crow, and that's that. Yeah, it might hurt me, but if it hurts black people or Chinese or the Irish or whoever more,
Right.
then it's worth it. And people don't understand that. Even Lee Atwater, when he was talking about
Mhm.
politics, he said that, yeah, white people will be a victim of a lot of these policies, but that's something that Republicans are willing to accept as long as it harms black people more. I mean, this was in the '80s, right? Lee Atwater was a Republican strategist for Reagan and for a lot of segregationists and things like that. He was a
Wait,
blatant
wasn't he Nixon's guy that came up
Yeah,
with the whole Southern strategy, right?
right. Yeah, yeah. He was the key linchpin behind the Southern strategy, which is the same thing Bill Clinton did. That's how he won in the '90s. Listening to
Tell
James
you what,
Carville.
man, I was actually still in Arkansas, which, that's home, and, when Bill Clinton ran, needless to say, we were all excited, but in retrospect, you can really lay a lot of the issues that we're having, and I'm not talking about the crime bill. Um, I categorize it in it seemed like a good idea at the time. Okay. Um, this whole idea of, okay, we aren't, the Democratic Party really got upset. I think Democrats had been pretty much running shit for like 30 or 40 years. And then you had this Reagan revolution and Newt Gingrich and all of this, right? And so somehow they got the bright idea that we need to move more towards what the Republicans are doing. And so that's how you end up with, um, I think it was the DLC, the Democratic Leadership Council, and Bill Clinton was the head of that. And that was kind of his springboard, right? Um, but essentially, it was Republican light. It was like, we're not
Mhm.
liberal. We believe in, XYZ. We're strong on crime too. Democrats are still running around here saying a lot of that same stuff,
Yeah,
and it worked. And but it's like that time is so far in the rearview mirror, but they
Yeah.
can't. A lot of them can't let it go.
I've been reading to my daughters, I've been reading them The Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan.
yeah,
This is what they're getting from me at night before they go to bed.
Man, you're
But
it's
I work them hard, man.
working on
I
those
gotta
kids.
prepare them for this fucking world, this disaster of a world. But he right in the first couple of chapters, he said, he's like, and he wrote this however many years ago, 30 years ago, and he's like, I'm so afraid of a world where it's an anti-science world, where it's like, and we're going back to, well, something must have caused the cold. It must have been witches. Let's burn all the women. And that's kind of what we're at right now. And it's just like the atrocities, and it starts to make sense. And it's like going back, we got measles outbreaks now, kids are dying. And again, as we said, the Democrats are so afraid of looking like nerds that they're unwilling to just point back and say, if you don't vaccinate your children, you're going to torture them to death. And we're losing that kind of messaging. So
I
just,
act I
I've seen
actually
go ahead.
heard, Blumenthal say something, and, we've been beating up on Democrats for a minute, but, I guess it was, they had
Constructive.
these hearings yesterday with, people that had been victimized by ICE.
Oh, God, that. Yeah.
And in the sort of lead up, and I just caught the tail end of it, but he referred to what happened to, um, Rachel Good and Alex Preddy as murder. And he's a former prosecutor. So you have to think he really thought about, he could have said, something not quite as definitive, right? But he referred to it as a murder. And I thought, okay, that's a step in the right direction. I mean, it's a baby step, but
Yeah. It's not
instead of
execution
kind of
yet.
trying to, uh, you know,
Yeah.
uh, call it, an accidental death or whatever
Yeah.
I
They need
mean,
to say the car didn't stop. I've been saying that too, because he's been saying it's like you executed her, but it didn't stop the car, and you're still alive. So clearly, your life was never in danger. Proof done, over. You're guilty, and it's just like, yeah. And the way that our Democrats though just capitulate and let them just spew, and it's just like, this is what I want to emphasize to everybody, and it's our job here on the the new media or the fringe media. We have to take back these narratives, and we have to make sure everybody spreads the fact that you are allowed to push back against stuff that's just blatantly false. It just defies logic, the things that they say. And we've all been conditioned that we just have to sit here and tolerate them saying this bullshit because of decorum or some nonsense when they're out abducting 5-year-old kids and who doing God knows what to them in
man,
prison
Walter,
camps.
you're getting fired up, man.
I
You're gonna make
fucking
me
tell
go out
yeah, I
there
tell you.
and have a march or something, dude.
Yeah,
Walter crashes out a lot, but it's
I
still
did
what
it.
people want.
Walter, you got
Oh,
you gonna
I
make
tell
me
you
go
a
out
secret,
there
Marlon.
and
That's when I'm close to tears,
what?
I start sounding like that because I could just burst into tears in a second here too. This shit. Seeing that little kid, a 5-year-old kid. I mean, Jesus
Dude,
Christ!
I
And
have
it's
to
like
be
the
honest with
indifference, though. People being so goddamn indifferent about this.
the first time I saw that, honestly, I teared up because it's like,
Ah,
who
yeah.
I just man, that's the thing. They really what are these people made of? I mean, to just be able look, I mean,
Fuck. Yeah.
they're recruited. People say they don't know who they're hiring. I say I think they know
Oh,
They
exactly.
know who they're hiring.
yeah.
They know exactly because you can't just stumble upon people that are this bereft of
Oh,
this
God.
empathy.
Yeah.
I mean,
You gotta know. I mean, those guys, man, it's something
look,
else. I gotta tell you.
look at all their ads and their media campaigns with all the manifest destiny and all these
Oh,
white
fuck.
nationalist talking points and Nazi songs and
And they keep it's funny, man. I've never seen a group of people more accidentally racist. They
Wow.
they keep on acting like, "What? What? What? Nobody we weren't even thinking about that." I mean,
yeah,
this is great. You would think you were looking at, like, some Hitler Youth shit. I mean, or
Yes.
just something straight from Nazi Germany. Some even like the script, the fonts that they're using. It's
Yeah.
like, "What the hell? Who's behind this?" Well, I mean, we know who's behind it. Stephen
right.
Sorry, what am I
I mean, it's just like the people they hired to do their social media are the same people that hired to do ice raids. I mean,
Roberto just mentioned Laura Jadid. I actually posted something. I actually posted the article that he's referring to, and the video. She was interviewed on, Democracy Now! And here's a person first of all, look at her name. I mean, it's like, did they not Google the person? I mean, it's not like her name
Yeah.
is just a normal name, right? And she said that they interviewed her, the in person 5 or 10 minutes. And then she gets an email a week or so later
Yeah.
asking her to do a drug test.
yeah,
Signed anything. So she does the drug test. She says, I know it's gonna fail because I'd had a gummy like a week before, okay? Eh, next thing she knows, a week or so goes by, she checks the ICE portal. They've got her down as being hired. No
Yeah.
background check, no psych evaluate, nothing.
They didn't even check her social media. If they
Nothing,
would have,
nothing,
right?
Yeah.
evidently.
And and Arturo, have you seen, I think Shane posted it, but how many people are currently being held in detainment centers by ICE across the United States? Do you
I checked yesterday. I think it was around 73,000.
Yeah. And I mean, what's
I did.
happening to those people? I mean, we need to get in there. All of our politicians need to be getting in there.
Let me
So
tell
I
you,
did. I
man.
did I did an article yesterday about migrant detention centers being on the brink of collapse, on the brink of failure, and that's largely because of that. Last summer,
Why is that? Overcrowding or what?
yeah. So last summer,
Illness. Yeah.
I posted some videos out of the Chrome Detention Center, and I got a hold of them, and there was a bunch. It was overcrowded. People were sleeping on the floor. It looked pretty bad. The Chrome Detention Center has more people in it now than before. It was triple capacity last summer. Every facility is about triple capacity. The Fort Bliss Detention Center is holding about 3,000. It's supposed to hold 10,000 at some point. I don't know that they ever get there, but they did buy all these warehouses, right? Something like 70 something warehouses to start housing migrants. Two of these warehouses are projected. One is projected to hold 5,000. The other one projected to hold 8,000, making them two of the largest jails in the world if they open. So, on that same note, in 2025, oversight of these facilities dropped like 38%. So you're seeing these deaths, you're seeing measles, lack of food, lack of medical care, lack of all these things. And there's no oversight. There's no investigative. And by law, if a detention center fails an inspection, by law, they have to close until they correct it. And that's a congressional oversight. Not a single one of these facilities has been closed, not under Biden, not under Trump. And under Trump, they're way worse. And they've not been closed. They've not had the funding pulled like they're supposed to. And they're just continuing to run them and I think Democrats and Republicans both know that if they shut down one of these detention centers, they will cripple the system because ICE is already crippling it by just packing people in there.
Yeah.
And, the longer they hold them, the more money these private entities make. So they hold them as long as legally allowed. And in Chrome, when I posted that video last summer, there was guys in there that were in there for 60 days. They were Mexican. Like, it's right there. Like, Mexico's right there. Why are you holding them there for 60 days? And 2 days after we published all those videos, all the Mexicans in that video were released to Mexico.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's
cool
shit. I mean, it's just crazy where we're at right now.
And they're getting people with no criminal record also, right? And there's kids in there and women, and it's just, and what's happening to them? See, that's the part, because I mean, there's rumors that these people in these detainment centers are getting raped and tortured. And I want assurances that's not, but I mean, it's like America. It's like what we're at right now. We got concentration camps where people are getting raped and tortured and murdered all across our country. So this is why we can't just sit around like waiting for the midterms. Shit has to happen now. I mean, little kids are getting tormented in these places. Has to stop.
Yeah, this idea that ICE should be wearing body cams and needs more training and all this stuff before they sign off on funding. I'm like, dude, like the people that did the killings have been in this business for a long time. They have military background. They have all the training. The guy who's killed Renee Good filmed himself doing it. What's a body cam gonna do?
Really?
You know what I'm saying? So like they don't care. And when you look at the type of violence that we're seeing right now on the street with ICE, that comes from Border Patrol. And people, what I've been trying to tell people is that this mentality, Border Patrol's brand of violence, is now a part of ICE and is now a part of every federal agency helping ICE and is now becoming normalized among local police that are helping ICE. They're seeing how Border Patrol kills people, manipulates crime scenes, and covers up murder. And they're seeing how the DHS does this and has done this. And now it's going to become more normalized. Standing in front of a car with your gun drawn on purpose. And as soon as if that car inches towards you, bam, 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 dead person. That's Border Patrol. Border Patrol does that. Pit maneuvers at 100 miles an hour, killing a car full of migrants, 10 people, Border Patrol. That's the kind of that's the brand of violence that they're bringing to our streets. And I don't think people are grasping the thought that you're about to start seeing this more often across agencies because now it's normalized. And, you're talking about Border Patrol who thinks they're a paramilitary agency. They think they're a paramilitary group. That's part of their culture. It doesn't say it in official documents, but even in the interviews in that recent documentary on HBO that Jen Budd is in, they're like, yeah, we're a paramilitary agency. We're paramilitary. Like, bro, paramilitary is kind of enemy work, enemy language. What the fuck are you talking about, paramilitary? And, a lot of it, like BORTAC, the Border Patrol's special tactics or whatever, dude, those guys, for whatever reason, they sent BORTAC to Iraq and Afghanistan for whatever. And those same guys train Border Patrol agents in other countries. And like these guys have military experience. BORTAC is on our streets. BORTAC, you see the BORTAC on their vest. Those crazy motherfuckers, snipers, are on our street. Why Border Patrol has snipers and this military unit is beyond me. But when they consider themselves a paramilitary group, it kind of makes sense. And that's the scary thing. That's the scary mentality that's going to start infecting more law enforcement. And that's what bothers me. We're not getting rid of that overnight. That's for sure. We may never get rid of it. It's a cultural thing. That's Border Patrol's culture. And now it's become ICE culture, FBI, DEA, all these guys helping. It's crazy.
And it's because white denial. They got these different white people who just like, just comply and nothing bad. It's like, God, it's like when they got their no warrant entry where they're going to just murder everybody. Whoops, we went to the wrong house. Oh, well, I guess we just killed 30 people for no reason. And the fact that they don't release the list of the people that they're detaining too.
Right. And I think, it was really telling after Renee Good's murder, especially after the so-called racial reckoning of 2020, how a lot of white people were acting brand new about this. Like, did you not see what they did to George Floyd? Did you not see, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland? Like, like this is who this country is, always has been.
Yeah.
Border Patrol just takes it to another level. That's it. I mean, they are a brutal, brutal organization and they kill people constantly.
Marlon, any thoughts? I've been getting all riled up, but go ahead.
No, I mean, look, it's they're just doing what they were built to do, right? I mean, I don't know. I guess it's surprising to see it, but I'm not really surprised. I will say this. Seeing video of a white man just straight up being executed, that rang differently. I mean, I'm not saying one life is more, worth more than another. It's just that in America, that's just not what you see. And I really think, as unfortunate as it is, the two people who lost their lives might be the catalyst that wakes up a whole bunch of folks.
I hope it is.
We don't have any kind of, I don't know that there's any evidence, but what just happened in Texas in that, in that district that voted for Trump overwhelmingly to lose, get trounced.
Yeah.
That means a whole lot of Republicans voted for that guy.
Yeah.
Republicans. So that tells me when you see something like that in Texas and like Arturo said, Democrats hadn't really won anything there. And we hadn't controlled that state since I was much younger.
94, man. 94 was
so I mean, that is one. I mean, that really stuck with me. I mean, to see, basically, basically, he treated him like they've been treating us. 200, 300 years, and it was like without hesitation.
Yep. White
Okay.
supremacy comes for
I mean,
you eventually.
we've seen the videos of, what was it in Chicago? I can't think of the kid's name that they just police, Rahm Emanuel withheld the video for the longest time. And the police, once it came out, they shot this guy 17 times.
Yeah.
Laquan McDonald.
Thank you. They shot Alex Preddy 10 times.
Yep.
And when I saw that, I was like, shit, we really, we really have taken this to a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
I reported on the Laquan McDonald case, and that one was rough.
Yeah.
Seeing that video, that was bad.
yeah.
Seeing what they did to Freddie, pretty fucking bad.
So if you really want to just put a bow on it, white folks, Trump is treating y'all like black folks.
Yeah.
So you're not safe. You're not
Yeah.
safe. Now, your whiteness is not your protection
Right.
because they are snatching white folks around and abusing them and throwing them in jail and shooting them.
Yeah.
They're doing the things that I grew up knowing about in Arkansas, but it was always reserved for black people.
Yeah.
Brown people. I'm just saying everybody but white people.
Yeah.
And so now what do you do
Mhm.
when white supremacy has escalated to where we told y'all
Yep.
it was going to go?
Right.
Now, if this doesn't cause people to wake up, then we're pretty much done as a democracy.
And that's our responsibility too, because we've seen how the regime is already trying to get ahead of these stories. They're going to constantly try to do that. They're going to misrepresent it. They're going to smear the guy's character. And so everybody here taught, this is why I get passionate about it, because we can't let people just, assume that now everybody's going to see it, because we've seen again and again and again how many people have to die, how many people have to be murdered and executed by white supremacy before we start to recognize white supremacy is a problem in the United States. And so, all the people here, figure out a way to talk to people. Like I said, go out and say, hey, justice for good. Just like you would say, Merry Christmas. Hey, justice for good. What's wrong with that? Do something today. Get the conversation started. Get people thinking about it. And it goes from that whole spectrum of this. We got to teach true history in our schools. Run for school board. I think that's a critical thing too. This is the consequence of telling lies all these years. There's this whole structure we have to dismantle. And also, I'll help you guys get in touch with more candidates and just have honest conversations with these candidates where we put all the old decorum aside that hasn't worked and empower them with the language that they need to actually humiliate these Republican fascists who seem to take and steal these elections, because if they don't steal, they can't win the election. That's another thing people are saying. Everybody's whining. Oh, they're going to steal the midterms. I'm like, well, they stole 2024. Oh, you can't say that. It's like, what the fuck, man? You just said that they're going to steal the new election. Why won't you admit they stole the last one then? You think? And then they still don't want us to do anything. So today is the day to do something, everybody. Get out, even if it's just talking to somebody, and you'll be amazed. Because what you're going to find is there are people that look like the most interesting man in the world who are going to say, we're going to fight him back and we're going to win. And you're surrounded by people like that. So just speak.
Yeah, I think one of the keys is to keep you got to put Republicans on the defensive and keep them there.
Put them in check.
After Alex Preddy's murder, the White House was on the defensive, and nobody put the pressure on. That was the moment to really drop an anvil on them and put some serious pressure on them. And then I want to touch on this what you were just saying. There's this boomerang effect, right? And you hear this among leftists, anti-fascists, communists will even talk about this. And that's the boomerang effect of fascism, right? When we're, forcing our will on other countries. The boomerang effect is that always comes back home. It happened to Nazi Germany, like every fascist, dictatorship in history, even under Pinochet in Chile. The fascism that's exerted outward eventually comes back inward. So when we see white people being executed in the street, that's where that comes from. When we see those same white people being villainized and killed a second time in the media, that's also a product of colonization, right? That's also a product of that fascism, where we call people defending themselves terrorists, like we called indigenous people savages. Now you're calling the white leftist a terrorist, right? That's the boomerang. It came home, and now it's not just affecting non-white people; it's affecting white people too. And I look at these murders in Minneapolis, and I think of those white kids that went missing, those college kids that went missing during the civil rights era in the South. You read those stories, and like they're so gut wrenching. And then you see this happen, and like I step back sometimes and I'm like, are we watching what happened in the 60s happen right now, right in front of our fucking face? Because
Yep.
that sure is what it feels like. Two allies just got executed in the street by masked federal agents, state-sponsored judicial murder. What we accuse every so-called dictator of around the world. We just watched it happen again 60 years later. What?
Hey, dude, I'll take it even a notch beyond that. You're going to go all the way back right down the road from me, 1898, the Wilmington Massacre.
Oh.
Okay. And what was it about? You got these newly freed enslaved people coming to Wilmington, North Carolina, which back then, Port City, big deal, biggest city in the state, majority black in 1898. They literally called it the Black Mecca.
Yeah.
This 4 or 5 years ago. And what happened was black Republicans, guys running for office. So you had Republicans in the Senate, all over in the House, whatever. They were in charge of the customs house where black folks in charge of all kinds of stuff. And they aligned with white farmers, poor white folks. And the white supremacist Democrats at that time were not having it. What did they do? They had Trump's got the Proud Boys and ICE and all of it. They had the red shirts, paramilitary group. And going into the 1898 election, these guys were shooting in folks' houses, black folks and white folks. So once you align away from white supremacy, you lose your whiteness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they literally, that's the only actual successful coup that's happened in the history of this country.
Yeah.
And they literally at gunpoint made the mayor of Wilmington resign, white guy, ran him out of town. What's the other thing they did? Completely destroyed the black newspaper. Literally, there are photos of guys standing outside the newspaper where they have like torn up the printing press. Okay. So all that to say, history, I guess, man, in a way, you hear about the pendulum. It's what, every 30 or 40 years, you can expect some shit like this.
Yeah.
So
that's why it's so critical, all the support we get here, all you wonderful people. Because, they've controlled the media. None of this stuff is being talked about in the mainstream media.
Man, you're dipping into my lunch now, boss.
I'm trying to get you so much. Oh, okay.
Dude, I'm going to have to do this to eat.
All right. Go support Marlon so we can eat. Go support Marlon so he can buy a nice lunch. The man deserves it. He works hard. But keep coming back, people.
Grocery money. I can't leave home, man. I got a jacked up leg and a foot of snow on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Marlon, money for delivery.
I'm gonna have to bow out and prepare the rest of my day. But it's always fun to do this. It really is. And I'll be looking for that email or text from you with some political folks I should be talking to.
Yes,
I got questions. I got questions.
We'll get that word. All right, perfect. Yeah. And then Arturo, do you got anything? If you want to just kind of take us out too, tell people support Arturo.
Yeah, this was a great talk, man. I had a good time. Thanks for having us. I was really looking forward to seeing Will. Unfortunately, he didn't make it today, but I really enjoy talking to Will. He's always got some really good insight. But yeah, no, this was good. This was needed. I needed a break. It's been rough with, I think I told you, Walter, before we got live that, the stress about Cuba and my family and friends there and ICE running around over here. It's been a lot. And,
Yeah.
I really needed this. This was good.
Yeah, it's good
And
to
I
have
appreciate everybody who showed up.
300 extra allies is helpful. We didn't even mention the Epstein files, so that
Yeah.
just tells you the state
Dude,
of thing.
that
Well,
just
let's just
really
segue.
that lets you know how bad it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no shit.
We're gonna win though. There's just no other alternative. So, I love you guys. I appreciate you so much.
Likewise,
Thank
bro.
you so much. Feel so much better. I'm gonna go scream for a little while.
Into the void, huh?
Yeah. My poor dog. All right. We'll see you. Go get some lunch.
All
Bye-bye.
All right, guys.
Take care, man.
Bye, y'all.